Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
Hello and welcome to this episode of our show. This is your host, Keith Doherty. Today our special guest is top real estate agent Raylene Lewis of Century 21 Beal, based out of College Station, Texas. Raylene has sold homes for the last 15 years in College Station, Texas, with no less than 70 personal sales each of those years. Additionally, she is the Century 21 Corporate 2015 Technology Award winner. As she is known as a real estate expert, she is regularly interviewed and quoted in published real estate articles. All right, with all that said, Raylene, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Keith.
And Raylene, if we could start for our listeners, what led you into real estate? Was it something that you always knew you wanted to do, or did you maybe stumble into it?
You know, for me, real estate was something that I totally stumbled into. When I graduated college at Texas A&M, I was thinking that I was going to go to law school and be an attorney. And so I started at Baylor and completed 5 of the 9 quarters, and I got really sick. I ended up having to have major sinus surgery kind of in the middle of it, and it was taking me a while to recover, and Baylor was absolutely wonderful. And they told me that if I stepped aside for the remainder of the semester, that they would pay for the next semester for me to attend. And so I found myself with nothing to do for a couple of months and realized that I qualified for my real estate life. And the average realtor, I was told, sells about 12 homes a year. And I'm like, let me give it a try. And so I started selling real estate. In my first year, I sold 42 homes. And I just absolutely loved it. And I feel like, doors open and doors close. And I felt like this was just where I was supposed to be. So I totally fell into it, and I've loved it. I love selling houses ever since. And on a funny side, my folks told me later, of course, they were kind of disappointed that I didn't finish law school, but they said, that they should have known because my grandfather and my great-grandfather were both real estate agents. And, of course, I had no idea about the past, so it must be in the blood.
I was going to say, it was kind of like maybe you were destined to do it without even knowing until you kind of got there.
That's right.
And Raylene, do you think you could maybe talk a little bit about what personal attributes, traits, or qualities you think have most contributed to the success that you've had in real estate?
Well, I tell you what, one thing that I absolutely love about real estate is it's one of those businesses where what you put into it is what you can get out of it. And what I found was that if I held myself accountable versus having a third party that would hold me accountable, to attend work or be here at this time or that time, that I was a lot harder on myself than having somebody else. So being accountable to myself was really important. And I felt that if I can put the work into it and work hard, then definitely, there's success there. So I'm kind of the person who always, my grandmother always told me, there's more than one way to skin a cat. There's more than one way to look at a situation. And I love to problem solve, and I love to figure out, put the square peg in the round hole sort of mentality. And so just being driven and wanting what's best for my clients and wanting to learn also is really, really helped me in being a real estate agent. I try to go out of my way to make sure that I know all about the product, because whenever I buy something, I try to research it thoroughly. And people the house is like your most expensive thing. And so I wanted to make sure that when somebody worked with me, they knew where they were putting their dollars. They knew what was involved in the construction process, so that they knew what was going to last, what wasn't, and then looking at location and neighborhoods. There's a huge, big learning process to all of that. So I guess just being willing to continue to learn, and so that I could educate my clients and provide the best service possible, and then being willing to go out there and work to make it happen is probably what's been best for me.
Do you think you give our listeners an example of when these traits have played a role in your path toward success?
Sure. I think that my clients know that when I go out and show them a house, that I'm not selling them. I'm making sure that they that they understand what it is they're purchasing. And I let everybody know, look, I'm not an inspector. That is not my area of expertise. But when I'm showing a house, if I can look and see, okay, there's a little bit of shine here on the roof, or I can look here and I can look down the side of a house and I can see where the bricks are and where the mortar is, and it looks a little bit wavy going on, I can say, I have this concern that this particular builder might not have used the brick ties and tied the bricks into the studs, and this might be a problem later on. And so I can give my clients a heads up on things, and then we can plan accordingly in how we do inspections or in which house we choose.
And Raylene, I think whenever somebody builds a successful career in a business, that sometimes getting there, there's bumps along the road. And can you talk a little bit about some of the adversities or trials that you had to overcome in order to achieve your goals?
Sure. I think everybody has adversities, and it's really just in how you handle them. For me, I can think of two that really stood out. The first thing is when I decided, hey, I'm going to go and sell houses. Number one, I had no money. And number two, I was in a location where I didn't know anybody in the area. So one thing that realtors really rely on in getting started is having a good sphere of influence. And I had just moved to the area, and so I literally didn't know anybody, and I felt like I had to succeed because I had no funds. There was no room for failure. And so that was one thing was I didn't have any money to start pouring into the business, so I had to literally go back to the old school days of, all right, how am I going to find somebody who wants to buy a house? And I'm not the type of person, like I said, that just sits around, so I wasn't going to wait for cold calls. So one of the things that I did was I went to neighborhoods where they were, just starting up and lots of for sale signs. And then I would just kind of hang out and wait for someone to come in and try to pull a flyer and then try to capture that buyer and convert it to a sale. And then I stalked the for sale by owners and, called them and said, I'm going to be honest with you, I don't have a lot of experience, but this means you're my primary focus. And that was how I got started and tried to overcome that adversity. The other thing is, I think balance is really important, and that's been hard for me because I have 3 kids. And when I started selling houses, it was easy. Lot boxes turn on at 8 a.m. for us and turn off at 9 p.m. And I was there all the time to work to bring in the dollars. And when I had kids, it was like a whole nother habit. A 12-year-old, 10-year-old, and a 6-year-old. And I really had to learn the balance to be able to be there for my clients whenever they needed me, which is something that's really important, I think, especially when you're spending so much money to buy a house, is to be accessible when the client needs you to. And at the same time, to be able to be there for my family because that's why I work. I work so that I can help my kids.
And when these obstacles come up, what kept you going despite these obstacles? Why didn't you give up? What was your driving force?
I read the book a while back ago that was called Who Moved My Cheese? I don't know if you've ever known that, and I decided I'm probably more of a scurry type personality. And so I don't just sit and watch. I look at something, and then if that doesn't work, then I'll go another direction. And for me, the driving force was my family. When I was growing up, I wasn't able to do extracurricular activities. Like, I really wanted to do dance and gymnastics and all that fun stuff. Cheerleading, man, I looked at that, and that would have been so cool, but my family just didn't have the funds to do that, so it was never a possibility. It wasn't even something to consider. And so for me, I wanted to make sure that my kids had the ability to do what they want and have the ability to have these experiences that I wasn't able to have. And so that's really been a driving force for me.
And Raylene, looking forward, what's your vision for your business and your career over the next 5 years?
I think for me, looking forward in the next 5 years, it's really just about balance. I know that the great thing about real estate is the time that I spend into it is what I can get out of it. And I love working with the clients so much. I have a great time in helping them. The husband wants one thing, the wife wants something else, or people have these goals, and sometimes they don't know what it is that they want. And so we have to sit down and talk about their lifestyle. And, you tell me that you want this. Tell me why you want that. Tell me why that's important to you, so that we can, put it all together and make sure that we're getting you the best possible option for you. Like I said, when I show them a neighborhood, I show them the good, the bad, the ugly, everything about it so that they can make a good decision. And really, that's kind of all about balance. And that's the way it is with me too, and where I see myself in the next couple of years. I know that I want to sell about 70 homes a year. That's where I've decided allows me to spend the time that I need to with my family and still be readily accessible to my clients to help them whenever they need something. And I've got clients, they're wonderful. They call me and they're on their second and third house from out of the area. They're not even, local anymore. And they call for advice or assistance. And I've got people who, they're wanting to do maintenance work or something. It's not even about real estate necessarily. And we all stay in touch. And so I like that about my life and about my business and about where it goes. And yes, I could go out there and I could sell more. I feel like if I did, I wouldn't be giving the attention that my clients expect or that my family expects.
And I guess kind of on top of that, what do you feel is the best way that you market yourself as a real estate professional so that you can have continual growth?
Yeah, marketing yourself is really important, and I feel that a lot of people, they throw their money at different forms of advertising, and it's really just not necessary. If you do a good job for your clients, then they will refer you and they will tell their friends about you, and that's what's really important, and that's how I run my business. If I have a client who later on needs advice about something, like about, I'm wanting to do some yard maintenance or I need to do some repair, they know that I'm just a phone call away and that I will get them in touch with a subcontractor or a yard person or, whatever they need that's going to treat them right and take care of them and call them back. And that's just how it works.
And Raylene, I think sometimes when the general public looks at real estate agents, they don't fully understand the value that they provide from both a buyer and a seller standpoint. What do you think the biggest misconception or myth people have about working with a real estate agent?
I think there are several. I think that a lot of times people think, well, they don't need a real estate agent because they can do it on their own and they can save money. And I can tell you that, real estate agents, a good real estate agent will save a client, both buyer and seller, way more money than what they cost. So buyers and sellers, they don't know what they don't know. And being in the business for over 15 years, I see it, so many things that would scare me to death if I didn't know, what I was doing on real estate, because so many things can come up. But the real estate agent is really the advocate for the client, whether you're a buyer or a seller, and it's their job to look after your best interest, get you in the property that's best for you, and educate you about what you're buying, and then save you money through negotiations and through education about your purchase. And as I said, buyers and sellers, they just don't know what they don't know. But a good real estate agent will, if it means for selling less days on market and making sure that that buyer is qualified and negotiating that transaction so that it works out the best for that seller, or if you're a buyer, again, negotiating the transaction, educating about the purchase, just looking at how they can help them get from point A to point B. A good real estate agent will save way more money than what their commission is for their client.
And Raylene, let's say you get a call from a family member or a friend, and they're in another state, and they want to sell their home. Now, obviously, with your experience and your connections, you could probably find an agent and do a referral. But from a general advice standpoint, what advice would you give them about selecting an agent that could best serve their needs?
Well, the first thing I would say is they need to interview several. And that way they need to figure out, about that client, that agent's real understanding and level of knowledge and level of experience. A lot of agents have designations by their name, and designations are really good. It means that they've taken, additional classes, which is really important. But you really just want to see, what that agent has in terms of knowledge that they can help assist you so that they know they can teach you about the product that you're looking to buy, be it neighborhood, house, type of property. So you want to make sure that you interview them so that you know how knowledgeable they are and that they meet your needs on what you're looking for. And the second thing is really important is reviews. I would say it's really important to go online and read reviews about what other clients have said about that real estate agent. And you can go online and read reviews on Trulia and Zillow. And Realtor.com has something new that's called Real Satisfied, or I think you can even Google Real Satisfied. But Real Satisfied is verified reviews. So it's kind of like when you go on Amazon and you're trying to find out, do I want to buy this product or that product, and it says this is a verified purchase. It means that Amazon can certify that product was purchased by that consumer. It's the same idea with Real Satisfied. Real Satisfied can verify, number one, that a client really did leave that review and really did work with that real estate agent. So I would say reviews are also really important. It's kind of like second next to, the word of mouth information about how that agent did for the consumer. And the third thing is I tell them that they really need to ask that real estate agent for references. And that's easy. Anybody can give you references. But the thing here is that you want to know, I'd like a reference of somebody that you work with in the last 2 weeks or in the last 30 days. So you've got somebody who can give you references of people who are either in the process of working with that agent or who have just finished working with that agent that you can talk to directly and hear about their experiences and how that went. So that would be my recommendation.
Excellent advice. And Raylene, obviously based in the Bryan, College Station, Texas area. And if somebody's looking for real estate services or an agent in those general areas, what's the best way they can find out more information about you and how you can help them?
Well, let me give you my website. It is www.aggieland.expert. So that's aggieland.expert is the best way to find me. And I'm always available on my phone. I've got it with me, and that's one reason my clients like me is I'm easily accessible. So you can always send me a text or give me a call at 979-218-2235 or my email, which is Raylene@century21bcs.com, and that's like for Bryan College Station.
Excellent. Well, Raylene, obviously we want to thank you for taking time out of your schedule to come here today and share all your professional real estate experience with our listeners. And if you're listening and you want to learn more about Raylene, obviously you can go to her site, like she said. Also below this interview, we'll have a link to her site and any other contact information we have so you can see how Raylene can help you with your real estate needs. So with all that said, everybody, until our next show, have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.